Beep, beep, beep. Ooh. The sound of my alarm clock woke me up from my peaceful slumber. I had a long night of studying, so you can imagine how exhausted my body was. Can someone please turn it off? I stretched out my left leg to place it on the floor, with my eyes still closed. I slipped and fell. I could fall asleep here, I thought, while I tried to get comfortable on the cold floor. Beep, beep, beep. Okay, fine, I'm up. I sat up hastily, my eyes now half open, and slammed my alarm clock harshly. I'm now greeted by total silence, just the way I like it. I was lazy to stand up, so I settled for crawling my way to the bathroom to get ready for school. I'm currently a sophomore in college. I got in the shower after removing my clothes and sighed content as I felt the warm water slide down my back. I lathered my hair with my 2-in-1 cherry shampoo and conditioner while trying to get the tangles out. Rinsing it out, I reached for my cotton candy body wash and soaped myself thoroughly. Once I was done, I got out of the shower, but then realized that I didn't bring my towel. Now I have to go in the room naked to go and grab it. Thank God my roommate isn't here. I wonder where she is, though. Maybe with one of her boar toys. I am so sick of her bringing different guys in our dorm room. Peeping through the door to make sure there is no one in the room, I rushed to grab the towel, but because of the water on my feet, it caused me to slip and land face first on the closet door. Ouch. It's already turning out to be a bad day. I wrapped the towel around me and started to pat myself dry. I stared at my reflection through the long mirror that was stuck to the closet door. I've been told that I was hideous, and I can't help agree. I had brown hair that reached a little above the curve of my breast, and frosty green eyes that I inherited from my dad. My eyes were rare, and that was one of the only things I loved about myself. My button nose was a little red from my little accident earlier with the closet door, and my already pink, pouty lips were set in a purse. In my opinion, my cheeks were too chubby, making me look a lot younger than I am. I sighed. Am I that ugly? I was reminded every day that I am by Asher, until I started to believe it. Asher Gray is my bully. I don't know why he picked on me. It all started when we were 5. I was the cliché shy girl at the back of the class. I didn't get into trouble and have always kept to myself. But one day, Asher noticed me and started to make fun of my pigtails. He called me Piggy and made his friends make fun of me as well. That day, I cried myself to sleep. And from then, he became my bully, making fun of me every chance he gets. I sighed again before going and looked for my clothes. Where are my jeans? Did Sonia take them again? Looking through my stuff to grab something else, the only thing I got was a short pants and a shirt that was a little tight for me. Well, it's gonna have to do. I didn't want to dig in more. I was already a little late. Sonia was my roommate. Not a good one, though. She would take my clothes without asking for permission and wouldn't give it back unless I pay her for my own clothes. I was much of a pussy to stand up for myself, and that led for others to take advantage of me. When I finished gotten ready, I started making my way to class. The hallway was filled with students, some talking about a party tonight, while some talked about gossip. Yeah, I thought they would grow up by now and leave that for high schoolers, but guess I was wrong. The students, for one, are bullies, and the teachers couldn't care less. They would literally see a student get bullied, and they wouldn't do that. Some students were allowed to even be intimate during school hours. I have seen some stuff I didn't want to see in my life. I'm regretting coming here. If I only knew Asher would end up here, I would have gone to another school. Making my way to class, I saw Asher and his buddies near the class I was about to enter. Pretend you didn't see them and turn around slowly. Hey, Asher's deep voice yelled. It's just my luck. Answer me, Asher kept shouting. Asher started to walk towards me. My heart pounded faster against my ribcage as he got nearer. He stopped a few inches before me, making me feel intimidated. Staring at his face, I can't help but be envious of his features. His shaggy black hair fell on his forehead, making it bounce every time he walked. His enchanting blue eyes were beautiful and left anyone speechless. His plump red lips were always set in a smirk or a snarl. He had the sharpest of jawlines I've ever seen on a guy. So to sum it up, Asher is the most handsome guy I have ever seen. He loomed over me with his tall frame. "Next time I call you, you answer me. Got it?" His deep voice boomed out, little bits of saliva flying out of his mouth and landing on my face. Gross. "Yes, Asher," I whimpered, feeling embarrassed at the prying eyes of the students around us. "No one would help me. They never have. Now get to class before I say something I would regret," he muttered, his voice going down a few notches. I looked at his blue eyes that held anger and sucked in a breath when it held mine. He stepped away from me, and I took that as a chance to rush to class and sat at the front where all the nerds are. Asher seemed to be in a good mood. Usually he would say more mean stuff. Ring. Soon the classroom was getting crowded with students. Asher and his gang came inside and sat at the back. And guess who sat directly at the back of me? Yes, Asher. The man kept talking all throughout the class. "Everyone, I'm going to be pairing you up, and I'm choosing your partner," Mr. Ramrock announced. Chapter 2. I waited with anticipation for the teacher to announce my name and my partner's. My hands became clammy as I feared of being partnered up with my worst nightmare. "Really, Mr. Ramrock, do we really need a partner for that stupid project?" "God, please don't make Cockroach, Mr. Ramrock, be our partner. Otherwise, Asher and I, that would be hell, and I've had enough of it." I call him Cockroach because of his surname, and he reminds me of one. Don't ask why. I didn't have any hard feelings against him. It was just a nickname that suits him well. Mr. Ramrock started calling out the names, taking his time as the names rolled off his tongue. Daphne and Connor, Liz and Joe, Brad and Ellis, Asher and Lily. Okay, maybe now I do have hard feelings for him? Why, God? What did I do to deserve this? I have been nothing but good. I help those in need. I pray every night. Okay, that was a lie, but I do study and get good grades. Sure, I curse, but I don't say it out loud. Okay, that was another lie also. Sure, I said some mean stuff about Asher, but he deserves it. Thinking about cursing, if only I could curse that stupid teacher. "Mr. Ramrock, can I have another partner?" Asher said, suddenly getting me out of the tantrum I was having in my head. My head swiftly turned around and I glared daggers at his head, making sure he could feel the hate I was radiating. His eyes held an odd gleam, and I couldn't decipher as he gave me one of his cocky little smirks. "How dare he is! I'm a straight A student. He is the one that I said. He sleeps around with different girls and I'm pretty sure he doesn't lease protection." I taunted in my head, something I wouldn't dare say out loud. Quick intake of breath as realization sets in. My head snapped back to the front as I faced my now worst teacher. I tried to have the most convincing look I could muster. Softer, hopeful tone. Maybe he'll take pity on me and make me switch partners. "Ramrock, I agree with him on this one. Except for the idiot part, we all know I'm anything but an idiot. Plus, Asher and I don't get along, so it would be difficult to do the project," I told Mr. Ramrock, hoping he'll take the bait. "No, no one is switching partners," Mr. Ramrock yelled. His eyes darkened in rage as he looked between Asher and me. "Well, bring the whole roof down then, sir. No need to shout." Was it that difficult to switch up partners? Teachers and their cliché ways of bringing enemies together. Asher started cursing at the back of me, being all dramatic. I'm sure he'll leave all the work for me to do anyway. So why get all worked up? The dude got the better end of this anyway, with me being the top student, and all. But I had to get an imbecile who barely takes part in class. One who hates my guts and thinks I'm revolting. "Now, everyone get close to your partner to discuss more on the project," Mr. Ramrock announced, shooing us to our partners. "This is it. This is how I'm going to die young. And I never even got to have a boyfriend." I got up to sit by Asher because that a-hole didn't want to leave his seat. He had an impassive look on his face. He suddenly turned towards me with a sneer on his face, his mouth curling into a snarl as he looked at me in disgust. "Don't you dare speak to me. Wait for me to speak to you first before you can speak. Got it?" he says. "I said, do you get it?" he said roughly, his face now inches from mine. My breath hitched as I swiftly turned my head to the other side, not expecting him to be that close. "Yes, Asher, I got it," I stuttered, my voice coming out in a feeble mutter. It's sad, really. I'm a 19-year-old who is still afraid of her bully. God, I don't know why I can never stand up to him. Well, he is 6'1" and has a lot of muscle, while I look like a toothpick. Plus, I'm all by myself. I don't have any friends who attend this school. We will discuss about this project at my penthouse. Don't bring your friend with you, he said. My eyebrows scrunched in confusion as I thought of who he must be referring to. It must be Rose, since she and her brother are my only friends. But Rose is an introvert who loves playing video games and movies, while her brother is the friendliest and outgoing guy I have ever met. They are pretty cool to hang out with, and they take courses online and doesn't attend the same college as me. Hey, I'm talking to you, he sneered. Sorry, Asher didn't hear you, I stuttered back. What were you thinking about? Was it one of your many toys? He growled. His eyes held a glint of anger before he hid it with a nonchalant look. My mouth slackened as I looked at him in shock. I wasn't expecting him to say that, or think so low of me. But he was far from the truth. I was still a virgin. I never even had my first kiss. I was innocent in more ways than one, something I was proud of. But who is he referring to if it isn't me? What gave him the conclusion that I had toys? He must have seen my confused face, because he elaborated the different guys who come out of your dorm room. He must have seen the guys coming in the dorm for Sonia. But why is this a problem to him anyway, and how did he know about guys coming in and out of my dorm room? She keeps bringing different guys to our room. Maybe he thinks they are my guys. Great, maybe everyone thinks the same. I should really speak to Sonia about this. It's starting to be a problem. It's not like she would listen to me anyway. We don't get along. You know you're cute when you're in your own world, he said lowly, catching me off guard that I almost didn't hear him. It seemed like it wasn't meant for me to hear it. Chapter 3. Did I hear wrong, or did Asher just call me cute? It couldn't have been. I must be dreaming. The man only ever calls me ugly and fat. I mean, I'm curvy, but no way close to being fat. What did you call me? I asked, shocked. I must have looked hilarious with my mouth gaped open like a fish, and my eyeballs ready to pop out of its sockets. He widened his eyes before composing himself. He slanted backwards with ease and rested his back on the chair before giving me a glance. I said, I can't stare at you for long. You're that hideous. You make my eyes burn. He grunted, making a face of disgust, his nose scrunched up as if he smelled something bad. Ouch, I didn't know I was ugly. There goes my self-confidence. Is it because I dropped my hair and didn't comb it this morning? But I did brush it, and my hair hardly gets frizzy. I mean, I know I don't wear any makeup, so maybe it's my dark circles from studying all night. Stop thinking about your appearance so much, Lil. It's not like it's the first time he calls you that. Yeah, but it doesn't stop the pain and hurt I feel every time I hear him say it. It doesn't hurt as much when others make fun of me, but there's just something about Asher that makes it harder for me to hear those words from his mouth. Stop staring at me. He shouted loud enough to gain the attention of the students. I didn't realize I was still staring at him. Everyone started to laugh while they pointed at me. So embarrassing. I quickly turned around with my head down. My eyes stung as I forced myself not to shed a tear. Don't cry, I chanted to myself. As soon as class was over, I got up quickly, chairs screeching as I pushed it backwards with my legs. I took my bag and put it on my shoulder as my feet moved swiftly around the chairs and made my way to the door. My hands were already on the knob when I suddenly felt cold water being sent on my ass. I let out an embarrassing squeal and turned around to spot Asher and his friends, laughing while he held an empty water bottle in his hands. Hey, I think you need your pants, he said while pointing at my wet backside. I felt the feeling of embarrassment wash over me as I felt the water drip down my legs, leaving a wet trail. I already knew my whole backside was soaked, so I didn't have to turn to have a look. He came closer towards me and leaned down to whisper in my ear. His breath tickled, causing unwanted shivers to rock my body. My heart leapt as my breath hitched, waiting for what he would do next. Next time, don't wear those shorts, because they make you fatter than you already are, his deep voice stated. I had those shorts from when I was a freshman in high school, and I barely had hips then. but now I got wider hips, making the pants stick to me like a second skin. It reached below my ass, leaving my slender legs on display. I wasn't going to wear them in public, because I knew I would have gotten ridiculed. But I didn't have a choice since Sonia took my long jeans and the rest were dirty. My fist clenched and unclenched as I stifled the fury that was boiling inside. I wanted nothing more but to say something I would regret, but refrained from saying anything. It would only make things worse, and I'll be left with more of an embarrassing punishment. I sighed in defeat. Before leaving without saying a word, I quickly rushed to the bathroom, knocking some students on the way. Heart thumping in my chest, I closed the bathroom stall and locked the door. I sat on the closed toilet and put my bag on my lap. The tears finally prickled down before turning into full-blown sobs. God, I hate Asher. Why does he have to be so mean? I have never done anything to him. I started crying my eyes out. The door to the stall next to mine opened and closed. My cries now turned to stifles as I tried to stop crying. I could feel the presence of more than one person as they fumble around, in the process knocking on my stall that separated us. A female voice started moaning as I heard pants being unzipped. The sound annoyed me as I heard their frantic breathing. Did some idiot really come here to do the dirty? Couldn't they give me space to cry in peace? Oh my God, Asher. That feels so good. Some girl moaned, the sound making me cringe as I stopped my stifling completely. My heart dropped in the pit of my stomach as I heard the name that was called out. My chest tightened uncomfortably as I tried to deny that it affected me. Why would he come in the bathroom to do something intimate when he knew I was here? What should I do? Should I get out or stay quiet like there is no one here? I should get out because the moaning got louder and they are literally banging on my stall. Asher, faster, the girl let out, her voice causing shivers of disgust to rock my body. Yeah, I'm getting out of here. That stall needs holy water as soon as they get out of it. I tried to slowly open the stall, but the stupid door made a sound. I silently cursed at my bad luck and clutched my bag closer to me as a shield. Asher and the girl stopped suddenly, the door to their stall opening with a bang. He got out while trying to zip his pants and looked straight at me with a smirk, while I stood still like a statue because I really didn't know what to do. Did you wish it was you when I was in that stall? He spat. My mouth formed an O as shock overtook my body from the question I wasn't expecting. Over my dead body. I really wanted to say, but the only thing that came out of my mouth was a squeak. The girl came out and I recognized her immediately. It was Shelley, the school's head cheerleader. She and Asher have an on and off relationship. With her long jet black hair that reaches on her bum, blue eyes and pouty lips, she's a sight for sore eyes. Her petite form was really slim, and sometimes I thought she was anorexic. Everyone worships the ground she walks on. Her parents are millionaires and she gets away with everything. It's annoying, really. She is also one of the meanest girls at this school, holding a grudge against me for some reason that was unknown to me. She sneered at me while fixing her clothes. "What are you staring at?" she shouted, mouth curling in a sneer. Asher turned around to face her. He looked like he had forgotten that she was here with the look on his face. His face suddenly turned to distaste before seizing her wrist and pushing her towards the door roughly. "Shelley, shut up and get out!" Asher shouted, making Shelley cower back in fear. I, too, jumped back from the force of his voice and stared at him in confusion. Chapter 4. Shelley looked at Asher, embarrassed, her eyes filled with tears as she rushed out of the bathroom. Asher chuckled at Shelley's dramatic exit in amusement before walking up to one of the mirrors to fix his disheveled hair. At a loss for words, I walked backwards slowly, praying that my feet don't make a sound as I tried to escape him. "Where do you think you're going?" he said lowly. His voice held authority, making my shoes squeak because of my sudden halt. "To Antarctica, stupid," I wanted to say sarcastically, but I kept my mouth shut, for I feared of what was to come. If I had boots right now, I would be shaking in them at this moment. Turning around slowly, I kept my eyes focused on the tiled floor while I prayed silently in my head. "I'm going to my next class," I squeaked, not daring to lift up my head to face him. "I'm not done with you yet," he said angrily. At his sudden outburst, I lifted my head, only to see him stalk towards me like a predator. His black combat boots hit the tiled floor, making me more anxious than I already was. He stopped, a breath away from me. My heart thumped in my chest frantically as I began to sweat. My body heated up with a fire unknown to me as he got closer than I expected. Feeling his hot breath fan my face, I couldn't help the shivers that ran down my spine. Our breathing deepened as his blue orbs stared into my green ones. It held an emotion that was foreign to me, making my already thumping heart beat faster. His eyes softened as he traced them over my face. My lips part as my tongue peeked out to lick my dry lips. Asher's eyes followed the movement. Eyes darkening, he bit his plump bottom lip. If it was possible, his breathing became deeper. We stayed there in a trance, none of us speaking, just admiring each other's features. Well, I was admiring his, but I don't know if Asher was admiring mine. We were suddenly startled by a banging on the bathroom door. We jumped apart, both of us avoiding looking at one another as the pounding got louder. "Hey, who locked the bathroom door? Open up, I need to take a dump," some random girl shouted while banging on the said locked door. When did Asher lock the door? I must have been caught up in admiring him to notice. Asher looked annoyed while he opened the door. The girl looked up at him with an embarrassed blush and quickly ran to the toilet. We heard a loud fat before we smelled it. God, what did she eat? Probably thinking it would take away the smell. Without saying another word, he rushed out of the door. I would have laughed at the look on his face if I myself wasn't suffering from that girl's ass burps. Blocking my nose with my hand, I had to rush out of the bathroom. With a deep inhale, I praised the Lord for saving me from her poop smell. The bell suddenly rang for lunch. How long have Asher and I been staring at each other? Why was he just staring at me anyway? He surprisingly didn't say or do anything mean to me, which is weird. That dude must be bipolar. With a huff, I headed to the cafeteria. My pants was still wet from earlier, and I was praying that no one would see it. Oh, who am I kidding? Everyone will notice that huge wet patch on my ass. I looked at the disgusting food that was presented. My stomach churned in disgust as I forced out a kind smile to the lady who was giving it out. I held my tray up to accept it. As soon as the smell hit my nose, I was ready to barf. With a cringe, I headed to the lunch tables. I saw Asher and his friends sitting in the middle of the cafeteria. Their table was filled with jocks and cheerleaders, all laughing at a joke Asher made. Shelley sat on his lap, feeding him fries. Her long, pointy, manicured nails touching his lips. I winced as they poked his lips, making him pull back his head to glare at her. Wasn't she ashamed for what he told her in the bathroom? I rolled my eyes at their stupid affection while trying to avoid passing by them and getting notice. Luck wasn't on my side today, because as soon as I thought about avoiding them, blue orbs fell into mine. Shelley must have seen Asher look at me because she turned around and spotted me. Her face turned in hatred before she got up. I don't know what happened to me, but my feet seemed to be glued to the floor as they refused to move. She stopped before me and gave me one of the sweetest smiles she could muster before taking my lunch and throw it in my face. Feeling the sauce burn my eyes, I tried to wipe it off of my shirt. Some mashed potatoes even got stuck in my nose, making it hard to breathe through it. Everywhere was silent until everyone burst with laughter. Soom took pictures of my embarrassed state. That's what you get for disturbing Asher and I. She sneered, her eyes held mockery before she flipped her hair back in a sassy move. I heard a chair scrape the tiled floor, and someone stomped towards us. I looked at Asher as he stood in between Shelley and me, his form seething with anger. "Shelley, sit down." Asher got in her face, screaming. She shrank back before regaining her posture and glared at him menacing. "Why do you defend her all of a sudden?" She angrily shouted back, her head looking around his body to glare at me. "Because she has had enough. Leave her alone," he gritted out angrily, face red with rage as his muscles tensed. She looked at him in astonishment before composing herself. Everyone became silent, including me, as we stared at him. No one dared to defy him as he sent a menacing glare to everyone. He looked at them with a mien on his face and yelled at them to mind their business. With a frightened look, everyone turned around and did exactly that. With a huff, Shelley angrily walked out of the cafeteria, but not before brushing me to a side. I stumbled a little at her harsh treatment before steadying myself. Asher looked down at me with an expectant look on his face. Was he expecting a thank you for defending me? Because that was hardly a defending, and there is no way I would thank that monster, for he is way worse than Shelley. Well, aren't you going to clean up? You look like a jackass with all that food on your face, he told me. Chapter 5. My face heated up in embarrassment before looking at the tiled floor. He didn't say another word, as I heard the sound of his boots fade away, letting me know he wasn't here anymore. My head lifted up slightly, just in time to see his silhouette leave the cafeteria doors, probably following Shelley. The thought saddened me, but I refused to let it show. Inhaling a much-needed breath, I straightened my posture and headed to the door. I could still feel a few lingering stares on my back as I headed for exit doors. My shorts were still soaked and clung to my skin uncomfortably. The food stuck on my face made me feel icky as I tried to wipe some off with my shirt. I was focused on cleaning off the food to realize that Shelley's friend Rebecca had stuck her foot out. The action had me stumbling before planting myself face first on the tiled floor. I let out an audible, pained gasp when my face came in contact with the hard, cold floor. No one could help me, not like they would anyway. It was still lunchtime and the hallways were empty. It was just us two and the bin to the left, if you could count that. I tried lifting myself up, but a heel-cladded foot prevented me. Her pointy heels dug painfully into the small of my back as she added more pressure. I gritted my teeth in pain as I felt the stabbing feeling. My scalp burned when I felt hands grip my hair and pulled it with force. I was forced to lift up my head as she held my hair in her hands. With a grunt and a whimper, I tried digging my nails on her hands, an effort to try and let her loosen her grip on my strands. But that effort became fertile as she tugged harder. Do you think just because Asher helped you out this once, you think he changed and grew a soft spot for you? Then think again, she spat beside my left ear. I didn't tell Asher to defend me now, did I? I gasped out. My stomach churned uncomfortably when I realized my mistake of answering her back. You have the nerve to answer me back? She gritted out while tugging on my hair harder. I let out a pained scream, tears leaking out and wetting the already dirty floor. My crying seemed to give her satisfaction because she pulled harder without remorse. Rebecca finally let go of me, but not without slamming my face on the floor as she laughed. With a kick to the side, she left me. I lift my head to look at her walk away. Her blonde hair that was set in a bob bounced with every step she took. Her legs were long and slim, and her high heels only added to that height. Her non-existent hits were swaying until she disappeared down the hallway. I got off the cold floor, face burning from it being slammed hard. I could feel the stinging pain on my cheek, and my vision became blurry as I struggled to stay conscious. I took small steps to the bathroom. Every step I took made me let out a shaky gasp and silent whimper. I opened the bathroom door with a slam, not caring if there was someone there. I walked to the sink and mirrors on the left side of the bathroom. They were dirty and foggy, barely making me see anything. But the red and swollen look on my cheek was prominent. I touched it tenderly, but winced when I touched a painful spot. My mouth set in a line as I opened the pipe and started washing off my face, being careful to not touch where it hurts. I couldn't have done any justice for my clothes, though. I didn't have any spare clothes anywhere. That thought made me let out a shaky laugh. I was mocking myself for being weak, for letting them take advantage of me. I tried thinking back to when all of this started. It was just mostly Asher doing it in high school, barely physically hurting me. But then college came and I was rejoicing that I was leaving behind Asher, only to be disappointed when he attended the same college. It seemed that it became worse when he met up with Shelley, though, and I always wondered what I had done to deserve this kind of treatment. The water was still running while I cleaned up the food. I was left with a wet shirt and an even wetter shorts. I sighed as I looked at my reflection. It would be useless to go to class looking like that. It would be useless to go to class looking like that. I turned off the faucet before giving myself a once-over, coming to the conclusion that I'll be skipping the rest of the day. I got out of the bathroom, limping my way to the front doors of the school. The bell must have rang when I was inside the bathroom because the hallways were empty. I walked out of the campus with my head held high, even though I felt anything but confident right now. Fake it till you make it. 30 minutes later, I reached my dorm room. I got a few stares from prying people, but no one came up to me to ask what had happened. No one cares. My muscles hurt and I still smelled of food, so I decided it would be best to take a warm shower. I dumped my bag on my bed and started undressing right there, thanking God that Sonia isn't home and the door was locked. I entered the shower, soaking in the feeling of utter bliss when the warm water washed away the remaining of the food. My tensed muscles relaxed as I scrubbed away the grin, hoping I could scrub away the lingering feeling of Rebecca's nails. I got out of the shower reluctantly, walking in the room soaking wet, not caring in the moment, and grabbed my towel from inside of the closet. I was wiping myself dry when I heard my phone give a notification. I tightened the towel around me and walked towards my bag to retrieve it. Looking at my phone, I saw a text from Asher reminding me of our meetup at his house for the project. My eyebrows knitted in confusion. How did he get my number? I thought suspiciously. I answered him right away, afraid that he'll be mad if I take my time to. I dropped it back on the bed and made my way back to closet. I quickly got dressed, not caring about what I wore, which was sweats, and jumped on my awaiting bed. It was still a little early. 2 more hours and classes would be over, so I decided to kill off time by watching a movie on my laptop. I laughed at the ending of the comedy movie and looked at the small clock on the bedside table. It was now past 5, and my heart dropped in the pit of my stomach when I realized that it has already passed 2 hours. Getting off the bed in a hurry, I put on my sneakers and headed right away to Asher's penthouse. When I arrived, I got really nervous to knock on the door. My feet rocked back and forth with nerves as I tried to have enough courage to knock. With a silent curse, I gathered all I could and knocked. It came out soft, and I doubt he heard it. But then I heard heavy footsteps getting closer to the door, making me regret even knocking. The door opened slowly, revealing a freshly showered Asher. I could tell by his still wet hair that was slightly dripping on his shirt. His eyes roamed my face before turning dark with rage. "Who did this to you?" he asked murderously,